Welcome to another edition of Running Rampant on BronxNet in association with Fordham Athletics and presented by United Healthcare. Emmanuel Barbari with you. A lot to get into on this week's show, including another chat with Fordham Interim Director of Athletics, Ed Cole. Men's basketball, tough loss to UMass at Rose Hill. Women's basketball, a crazy weekend on the road. Game at Dayton postponed due to COVID-19 concerns. Quick bus trip over to St. Louis, Missouri. A game there. We'll get his insight on that and other programs coming back to campus. Practices booting up. Ed gives us some perspective on what's going on. We have a recap of the men's basketball team's loss to the Minutemen, catch up with one of their rehabbing stars and senior forward Chuba Ohams. We get his progress, how 2 14-day quarantines impacted him, and also check on how his mental health stayed in line during all of these challenging times. And on the women's side, the first edition of a brand new segment, reminiscing with the Rams, connecting current players and alums. The first edition features junior captain Caitlin Downey and class of 2017 alum Danielle Padavano. But as always, we start with Interim Director of Athletics, Ed Cole. Welcome back. This is another 80 update live inside the Rose Hill Gym alongside Fordham Interim Director of Athletics, Ed Cole. Emmanuel Barbari with you. Ed, good to be with you.
Great to be with you, Manny, as always.
Ed, men's basketball today, a difficult loss to UMass. Ups and downs this season, a close win over Dayton, a couple of competitive losses as well. What's your overall assessment on the men's team thus far?
Yeah, I think it's a tough game today. I think Coach McCall and the UMass team really came in here strong, tough defense, shot the ball really well. Really draws a picture to you, Manny, and to our fan base of how tough the A-10 is. A lot of parity, a lot of ups and downs, right? Obviously beat Dayton one day, struggled today. Tough battle with Duquesne last weekend, tough battle with Bonaventure, who's a very good team here at Rose Hill. Really shows the parity throughout the conference. I think it's going to be interesting to see how the conference continues to play out. As you know, we're not going to be at Barclays this year. They made that announcement last week. So we'll find out where the tournament is, but real strong confidence, a lot of talents, and you even saw that today with Trey Mitchell, one of the top players in the conference.
The women's basketball team, a wild weekend, scheduled to play in Dayton, Ohio. That game postponed. They move it over to St. Louis, Missouri. Ed, when you're an athletic director, that's a tough situation to manage, even if we're in a non-pandemic world. Can you walk us through what this weekend was like from your vantage point?
Yeah, so our women's team arrived there Friday in Dayton. Obviously prepared to play for Saturday. Dayton communicated extremely well. AD's got on a phone. Dayton AD Neil Sullivan gave me that update. They had played Davidson the night before, so the Davidson AD, Chris Clooney, got on the phone as well. And Davidson was supposed to go to St. Louis. So really how 4 programs are involved with every pause in COVID is really a perfect example of the challenges of COVID these days. So we held our team in Dayton. St. Louis obviously needed an opponent. We needed an opponent this weekend. Our coach, our team, I couldn't be more proud of them. Wanting to play, resilient, overcoming adversity, got on a bus, 7-hour drive from Dayton to St. Louis. And a great win today in St. Louis by our women and Coach Gately. And I can't say enough about how proud I am of our student athletes to overcome those challenges mentally, emotionally, and even preparing for a game, as you know, Manny. So just a tremendous win, perfect example of the challenges of COVID, but also the strong adversity our kids are going through.
Beyond basketball, some of the other Fordham programs getting back in the swing of things. A perfect example being Fordham volleyball, back practicing on the court here at the Rose Hill Gym. Ed, how pleased are you with the progress some of the other programs are making?
I'm very, very pleased. We've done a lot of planning, a lot of conversations, a lot of collaboration with the university, with student affairs, Res Life, public safety, University Health Services. Our sports medicine team has done a great job. Dr. Lynch, Dr. Goldwasser. And we welcomed volleyball back a couple of weeks ago. They've started practicing, as you know. They're preparing for conference play early February. 24th, we have another wave of student athletes, including track and field, swimming, water polo. Then the 29th, the remainder come back with the general student population. And as you know, it's going to be a busy spring here with all of our sports, fall, winter, and spring, including football. So we're really excited to have our student athletes back. A lot of caution, a lot of testing, a lot of protocols as we did in the fall. But we do see a light at the end of that tunnel. And I'm just excited that our student athletes have the opportunity to compete and play, which is all they're asking for. So we're happy to be able to provide them that. We're going to do it very slowly and safely, but brighter days ahead here this semester.
Ed, in honor of Martin Luther King Jr. Day this week, Fordham Athletics has been very committed this year, 2020 into 2021, advocating for social justice. What's an update on some of the efforts that Fordham Athletics is undertaking?
Our Social Injustice Task Force put out an update on Friday, Manny, on January 15th, as promised, in terms of status of where we are at the action steps, in terms of programming and training for our entire athletics department, as well as our student athletes. Our student athletes have created a Connect program, a safe space for student athletes to talk. We have a book club that's been established to talk about issues of discrimination, racism. We're going on our second book this semester. We have a partnership with the New York Giants. So we have obviously a professional coming in to speak and work with us this semester. We're utilizing Dr. Waite in the fall semester, utilizing Dr. Farris in the spring to continue the training and conversation. I couldn't be more proud of our student athletes who represent, as 4 of them on our task force, our coaching staff, administrations. It's been all hands on deck. We're making real good strides within our culture and environment of athletics and within our university collaboration with Rafael Zapata and Juan Carlos Matos in terms of diversity, inclusion, and student affairs. And we're doing a better job in engagement in our community. Work closely with some of the community partners and some schools locally. So we got a long way to go, Manny, but we made some really good strides here in a 7 to 8 month period of time. And we have a lot more planned for this semester, so I'm excited to report on that.
Ed, appreciate a few minutes from you as always. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Manny. My pleasure.
A great chat with Ed and a dive into the life of an athletic director with schedule changes in a pandemic. The team that had the schedule change, the women's basketball team, has a brand new series out, Reminiscing with the Rams. The first reflection, junior captain Caitlin Downey with class of 2017 alum Danielle Padavano. Caitlin, take it away.
Hey, awesome. It's funny, I was going to ask you about a question about, which I probably still will, what it's like within the COVID world, Zooming all day long. I was talking to some family the other day and they said you feel like you're always on Zoom, always chatting with people. So I guess my first question, after thanking you again for doing this, a player to player, it's always great being able to connect with people from the past, and especially you being so connected to our program year after year. It's something really special, and I know how important Fordham is to you, and I just wanted to reiterate how appreciative and thankful we are for you and your constant support. So one of the questions we had for you to begin was COVID-19 brought a lot of new challenges for the work landscape. So what has it been like after Fordham, beginning your career, transitioning through this COVID-19 period, and what have you been up to?
Yeah. So to one of your first points, with still being connected to Fordham, I think it's my honor as well. And we had a lot of alumni who obviously over the years have supported me. And so it just kind of seemed like a natural thing that once I graduated, I'd still stay connected and continue to pass that torch on. Abigail's obviously was very connected even after she graduated. So I'm happy to continue that legacy that we have of all of our alumni being really supportive of each other. So start out with that. How have things been? Things have been good. It's obviously been a stressful couple months. We talk about it all the time internally and say that, like, personally and professionally, we've all gotten like a good lesson in crisis management and how to respond to the nuances that come with that and challenges and opportunities that come with that. For me at first, I work in sports entertainment, and for a while when sports stopped, it kind of seemed like the end of the world. There was not only nothing to watch, but there also wasn't necessarily anything for us to sell at that point. So I think that was kind of the initial shock. And for a really long time, uncertainty that came with that was, it kind of frightened and freaked out everyone. But since sports have resumed, it's obviously been great for our business, but personally also great for just my mental state and being able to escape the many Zoom meetings and work days. Watching a baseball game, watching a basketball game, I think that's had an impact on a lot of people across the country. So it's really cool to kind of be in the industry to experience that. and to kind of hopefully help make some people's days in light of a lot of negativity in the world.
Right. No, absolutely. I couldn't agree more with having even the simple baseball game on or football game on, even if there's no one in the stands, it just makes all the difference.
It's definitely a different game, but yes,
Yeah.
it's awesome.
I did a pretty good job with the sound. I was like, okay, maybe there are people in the stands, and then you get one cut and like empty stands. But how has it been, or do you enjoy the transition of working from home via Zoom, or would you rather kind of be in that office setting?
I do enjoy working from home. It was definitely something that wasn't really considered beforehand. It just wasn't a thing. I work with a lot of salespeople, and the idea is you're on the streets on a daily basis, and you're out visiting clients at meetings, at baseball games. And, I think it was just not necessarily something that was like in our normal business structure. But since obviously now everyone is forced to be remote, it's been pretty cool to see that we can still be productive and successful from home. Do I hope to return to an office one day? Yes, hopefully soon. Would miss my coworkers a lot, but overall, I think it's great to, have a balance at the end of the day.
All right, awesome. Well, another question I have is bringing it back to Fordham on campus, the good old days. What would you say is one of your favorite memories of all times? It could either be through basketball or just in general campus life.
Yeah, wow, this is very hard. I would say my favorite memories are pretty much, all of my roommates over the 4 years were teammates. And I think that was something that I was talking to Khadijah the other day. We were together over the weekend, and we were just reminiscing on how important our teammates were through the entire 4 years and how much we've grown and learned together. And I think it's pretty cool to be able to say that I have a group of women across the country or across the world, really, that, I have a connection with and will always have a connection with, just being their teammates and, being able to look back at all the fun times, the hard times, the hard practices, the AAs, the, whatever, everything really. The trips during Thanksgiving, I think we all kind of look back, and it's great being able to share those memories with so many great people.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. For the first time, of course, when we lived at Campbell, we lived with 4 other people. Now I live in Terra Nova. So okay. I had 6 other roommates, and I'm back to living in a double lifestyle, which I never had. And I was kind of spoiled as a freshman and sophomore. So I totally understand just being with your teammates at all times. Sometimes it's a little much. I'm like,
oh, yes,
it's for me right now. But it's amazing just being able to be around your teammates at all times. And they know you better than yourself sometimes. So just always.
Absolutely.
So another question I had was, what would you say is one of the greatest takeaways you had as a player playing basketball inside Rose Hill Gymnasium?
My favorite memory as a player. It's really hard because there are a lot. I guess just like generally everything that I learned about being a leader and being a teammate and being, a part of a winning program and what that takes and the pressures, but also the advantages. And, I think becoming a better person through that process. It's kind of funny looking back and thinking of myself as a freshman coming on campus and how shy I was. I'm sure if Coach is watching this, she would agree. The transition between the person that I became through basketball is something that I'll always be grateful for.
Right. And kind of going along the same lines, you and I both know Coach as a person. She's by far more than just a coach. She treats us like amazing people and sees us and wants the best for us when the ball stops dribbling eventually. So are there any notable like mottos or philosophies Coach has said in the past that has resonated with you today?
That's hard.
Probably a bunch that are just like,
yeah. Well, I don't know. I think like something that I definitely learned is making sure that wherever I go in life beyond basketball, I have people at those leadership levels and my coaches, my mentors, my bosses, it's so important to have them as people who want you to grow and are continuing to push you and are continuing to challenge you to get to that next level and whatever it is. And so, if anything, just learning how valuable it is to have that support and someone who is willing to push you and someone who is willing to challenge you and help you get better and want you to get better, I think is something that, I would obviously encourage everyone as you continue beyond basketball, make sure that you have folks that are helping you get to those next levels.
All right. I know 4 years flies by pretty quickly. It's hard for me to believe that I'm already a junior. And I was like, wait, I was just a freshman being guided by like Mary Goulding and Lauren Holden. So I'm like, this is kind of crazy how time flies. But for you, what does it mean to be a part of this lifelong tradition of being a Ram and being part of the Ramley?
Yeah. I think, what does it mean? I mean, I think, my freshman year, and it all started with the teams just before me and the transitional phase to Coach Gately's era. We had a lot to prove a lot of the time. And so I think we almost have like a little bit of a chip on our shoulder knowing that we worked so hard. And, you could say that about every team, but I do think that there's something to say of like proving our role in the conference and proving our role in all of women's basketball, I think is something that I'm always proud of. And I'm always obviously looking for the teams after me to continue and to exceed. So I think, before I joined or when I was being recruited, they were on the bottom of the conference. And now I would say we compete for the highest levels in the conference almost every year. And so seeing that transition and being a part of that and being able to be proud of that, I think is something that I'm probably most proud of to be a Ram.
So Jalen 7 assists, really, really valuable. And it was great to see Chris and Kyle play the way they did. Only got a lot of minutes. All that talk about offense, I mean, our defense was certainly really good. And so Dayton is one of the 40 best offensive teams in the country going into the game. Their guys really shoot the ball. And so really proud. It's a great win.
Coach, you come off the loss to LaSalle. You mentioned how frustrated the team was in practice this week. How much does an uplifting win mean to a team like yours right now?
You can't even describe it. I mean, from where we were, whether you want to call it 48 hours ago or 24 hours ago, maybe for some of our players 12 hours ago, where we were to beat a great team like Dayton, it totally changes everything. And when I say that, this season is not like, from Fordham basketball standpoint, like the competition part of it literally is secondary. The number one thing right now is keeping our group together, avoiding the frustrations that everyone around the world is going through. And it's not just around the United States, it's around the world. People can't go to a restaurant and have a meal. They can't go through their normal routines. They can't go to work. And so people everywhere are dealing with this. And so are our players. The level of frustration within our program, it's hard to lose. It's hard to go through COVID and lose. It's hard to go through COVID and not be competitive. So to try to place the old advertisements, Kyle Rose making a three is worth 3 points. Only making a dunk is worth 2. For our team to get a win today, priceless.
And Coach, Chris Austin with the 20 points, a career game. He hits the game-winning shot with 18 seconds to go. What was different about him tonight? He's had a couple of standout efforts throughout his Fordham career, but what stood out about his performance?
Yeah, and this is, Chris Austin played a great game. I'm sure it's the best game of his career. And, he's going to do it again. He's going to be a really, really good player. Part of this is I've been trying to find a good way to coach our team. And in the first game, I played a lot of guys. In the second game, I played fewer guys. Today, I played even fewer guys. Offensively, in the first game, we tried to call a lot of different plays. In the second game, we've just been trying to figure out who we are. And in this game, we really ran a lot fewer plays, and that allowed guys just to play. Two sides of the ball. First of all, offensively, our first half was really, really poor. And any team in the country that has 11 possessions where we don't even get a shot up, that's a very bad formula. So we turned it over 11 times. And so, obviously we missed shots too. That's not the only part of the story. But that's the biggest problem, is that just attacking their press, which really wasn't even trying to turn us over, was hard for us. Once we figured that out, and, we do the same thing against every press, so it's not something new or unique about UMass's press. Once we remembered what we do, we really didn't have turnovers against the press the rest of the game. However, they had already gotten 14 points in the first half off of our turnovers, and that's how they got to 44. The other thing that happened in the first half is that Trey Mitchell did hit 3 threes, and so on at least 2 of those, we simply didn't guard it the right way. And in the second half, when we did a better job contesting, when they did throw it back to him off the ball screen, we held UMass to 21 points. So we certainly can look at the defensive progress there in the second half, that we guarded very well in the second half.
Make sure to tune into the next pregame warm-up this Sunday with WFUV's Andrew Posadas and Dylan Balsamo, right ahead of the women's basketball matchup with Duquesne. Be a part of the virtual game day experience and follow the Rams all season long. Men's basketball senior forward Chuba Ohams is trying to burst into the game day experience. He's on the way back from last year's knee surgery and getting closer. Let's head out to the Rose Hill Gym and catch up with the Bronx native, Chuba Ohams. Inside the Rose Hill Gym, Emmanuel Barbari, pleased to be joined by Fordham senior forward Chuba Ohams. Chuba, how's everything been going?
Good, everything's been going great.
Chuba, just over a year since you had that injury before the LaSalle game. Had knee surgery, rehabbed over the offseason, an offseason unlike anything anyone has ever been through. How's the recovery going as we speak right now?
It's been going really well. I mean, it's been longer than what I expected just because of the whole quarantine stuff and all that stuff, but it's going really well, and I'm almost back to where I'm supposed to be.
Chuba, you mentioned the quarantines, 2 14-day layoffs in the mix of November, December, before conference play began, and the team really didn't have a chance to practice much before the boot up. How did that affect your recovery?
So yeah, my recovery timing was when I went into surgery was about 9 months to 12 months. So it definitely pushed it back a lot because I should have definitely been back already. But it's all good. I've been still working hard, pushing myself in the weight room and in my rehab center. So still trying to get back on the court.
You don't have the opportunity to work out during those quarantines. How tough is that mentally?
So it's very tough, very tough. It's definitely, this has been the hardest part of my life, and it showed me how strong I am as a person, just to keep pushing myself and not let myself get too much down, you know what I mean? So, I mean, like I said, it's the hardest part of my life, but I just keep working and just stay positive.
In what ways do you think you've grown?
What ways? My mindset. So, if you tell me about maybe 5 years back, if you told me I had a surgery like this and we had to go into this, I'd probably be down, like, oh, will I come back? I definitely had those questions going in quarantine, all that stuff, but I came to a point that you just got to be positive with it, you know what I mean? It's nothing I can do. Do I have regrets? I definitely have regrets. But at this point, it's nothing you can do, you know what I mean? Just stay positive, keep working, and just be positive that you'll be back to the player that you was before, or even better than what I was before.
Chuba, you're a redshirt senior, and once you had the injury, you had the opportunity to reevaluate where you were in your basketball career and in your life. What factored in your decision to stay here for another season?
Definitely my injury. My injury played a big factor because I didn't get to finish the season. So I only played one half of the season. So I definitely wanted to come back and at least, you know what I mean, give myself a year to get back to where I was and to be able to see where I go from there. So I didn't want to just jump. I couldn't just jump into maybe around the professional basketball and stuff like that. I couldn't just jump into something like that without at least give myself a year of time to just rehab back to where I was before.
And you've been at Rose Hill for the duration of your college career. Flashing back, you're a Bronx native. You go through the college decision process. What played into that decision to stay in the Bronx, stay close to home?
It was easy. I mean, I wouldn't say easy, but I had a number of schools recruit me all over the place. But what factored in is just being close to home. I'm a big family person, and throughout the years, I saw that helped me a lot, especially right now, knowing that we had a bunch of quarantines, but I was able to just go home and stay with my family. You know what I mean? Where else, if I was to quarantine somewhere, if I was from somewhere else, if I were another school, I would have to quarantine the dorm just by myself, not be able to see my family, and it would have been rougher. The quarantine process for me. So just now and just throughout my years, just be able to just go see my mom and dad whenever I want. You know what I mean? It was great. My mom and dad both came to see me play their first time ever in basketball just because I go to Fordham. So that helped a lot. So yeah, that factored in.
And this being your final chapter at Fordham, when this year is all said and done, how do you hope to look back on it? What do you hope to accomplish in your final season?
Come back to where I was as a player before, even better. And definitely see how far we can get it. I love how last year when I was out, we got our first A-10 win since I've been here at Fordham. So I want to build off on that when I get back and definitely see how far we can go.
Shuba, thanks for your time and good luck with the rest of your recovery.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in to another edition of Running Rampant right here on BronxNet in association with Fordham Athletics and presented by United Healthcare. Big thanks to our guest today, Interim Director of Athletics Ed Cole, Women's Basketball Junior Captain Caitlin Downey, Class of 2017 Women's Basketball alum Danielle Padovano, and Fordham Basketball Senior Chuba Ohams. Thanks to everyone who made the show possible, our producer David Bernard Santana, and as always, we'll see you in 2 weeks.